Life is precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
What's happening, everybody? I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Account for Life podcast. Jay Moore, the healthy accountant, helping you to account for life. And so today, here's what we're talking about: the secret principle for having courage. Secret principle for having courage, man. And so I'm going to ask you a question as we get started here. Has there ever been anything in your life that, you've been fearful of, you've been wondering if you could do it, or, the situation that you was in, was probably going to be painful to hear the news, or painful to kind of like do what it is you had to do? Has that ever happened to you? And so courage is one of these things that it's almost like, it's right in there. It's right. It's like the opposite of fear. Courage is like the opposite of fear. So when we look at what courage is, the definition is what? It's the ability to do something that frightens you, strength in the face of pain or grief. Courage. That's what courage is. But what is fear? Because fear is right there. Fear now is interesting because it says fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous. And then it also says to be afraid of, it's likely to be dangerous, painful, threatening, blah, blah, blah. So the secret principle of having courage is to almost like you got to deal with an emotion. Come on, think about it. There's an emotion that jumps on you. It's kind of like right before here, when I think about this podcast, when I think about some of the stuff that I've had to do over the last few years. And I'm just like, man, I have to have courage to decide to open my mouth. I have to have courage to decide to deal with situations that I can almost feel it. I can almost feel like, wow, yeah, this could be a little frightening, to talk about a topic that you may be wanting. Man, do I have authority on that topic? Should I say that? I remember I was talking to my older brother, and he said to me, he says, Jay, this is interesting. He says, interesting because, your podcast, it's like you was always, even from the beginning, I was talking as if. And I'm like, what do you mean? He says, kind of like, I guess you became what you said, maybe even before you said it. So in the beginning, it's like, this guy's saying, but then you look up, you're like, oh, wait, he's actually doing that. And so it took courage. It takes courage to open your mouth and say something that you're not too sure about. But what is the secret principle? Yeah, we're going to get to that in a second. What did God tell Joshua? What did he tell him? Now, Joshua did not know if he had courage. He says, Joshua, be strong and be of good courage. And so why is God telling Joshua to be strong and of good courage? He says, because, dude, you already got that. Think about in the beginning when God created us. I love going back to that because that's like the foundation of everything, to think about what God did. And God created the heavens and the earth. And then he created this being. Now, this being that we are, where in the world would we get the fact that we can't do something? Where in the world would we have fear and not be courageous? When did that happen? Well, obviously, we know when it happened. Sin came in and bam, all of a sudden our emotions get the best of us and we can't control those emotions. So how would if a person needed courage, what principle could that person use? Now, okay, remember, courage, which is somewhat the opposite of fear, is the ability to do something first. First is ability. What is ability? Ability is almost the same as power. Power is also an ability. You have power, but you have ability to do something. So if we're looking at courage and we're looking at something that's frightening us and something that I'm wondering if I can do it or not, first thing you got to know and I got to know is that if you're having a thought and wondering if you can do it, more than likely you can do it. I'm gonna say that again for those of us that's trying to figure out, what did he just say? If you're having thoughts wondering if you can do it, you can do it. But Jay, I don't have any experience. If I don't have any experience doing something, then how in the heck is I going to be able to do it? Hey, I've got a great story for you. And the story comes from a young lady, little girl. She might have been about 13 at the time, maybe 14. And she went away to a private school. She had been taking piano lessons for several years, and she didn't really like it. She was living with her grandmom, and I'll let you know who this is shortly. She might know who this is, but I'll let you know who it is. Her grandmom had sent her the piano because she sent all of her sons to play instruments, and none of them really stuck with it. And so she was going to have one of these kids playing this instrument. And so, granddaughter, didn't really like playing, didn't really want to do it because, a lot of times when you learn how to play the piano it's you're playing classical stuff. Most of us don't like classical music. I know I didn't when I was taking lessons. And so here it is. She was taking these lessons. She was never into it, never showed signs, didn't even show signs of any kind of what I call giftedness at the piano. Here's the thing though. She saw something one day as she was in boarding school, and she noticed that, she got enamored by the different people she saw playing the piano. She's looking around. She's like, hey, this seems kind of cool. Here it is. She's taking piano lessons for the past several years. Didn't like it. Wasn't interested. See these people playing the piano. And she's like, wow, this is kind of cool. I know. Check this out. I know I can do that. Wait a second. She was just taking lessons. Didn't believe she could do anything, didn't believe that it was anything she wanted to do. And then she saw somebody else playing and says, I know I can do that. And here's the thing. She didn't take any more lessons after that. She just says, I know I can do it. So now she's stepping into an area where she had to have a level of courage to say to herself, you know what? Even though the past is the past and I took those lessons, I wasn't that great, but here it is. I believe now I can do it. See, why do I tell you this portion of this story? I'm telling you the portion of the story because courage, the moment you have a thought that you can't do something, that's the moment that you can say, oh shoot, if I'm having a thought that I can't do it, then more I can do it. Now, I may not know how to do it. I may be at the very beginning stages of doing it, but that means I can do it. I'm getting to the secret principle in a second. I haven't gotten there yet. So we've got young lady, 13, 14. She turned 14. She's at school, boarding school. She's watching all the pianists play. And then secretly, she's going to the piano, not getting any lessons, but secretly she's going to the piano, can't play a lick, and just kind of playing with the piano. She starts using her faculties. What are her faculties? She starts using her hands. She starts using her ears. She starts using her intuition. What is that? That's a faculty that we all have, intuition. She starts using her intuition and she's using her memory. This is a faculty that you have. And she's using her imagination because now she's imagining herself playing the same music in a way that they're already playing it, and she don't even know how to play it. So she's playing around the piano. Then she's getting opportunities because now she's like, oh, shoot, something's working here. Then she goes and she might have played. Oh, shoot, she had a song down packed. The next thing you know, one day, she's in the same room. She's in her room playing around with the piano. And one of the individuals who she looked up to who could play showed up. And she was like, oh my goodness. And then next thing you know, she's in the room. It's like when what's the quote? The quote is, um, the teacher, the teacher will appear when the student is ready. Student was ready that day. She was in the room with her, not even a mentor, not a teacher, but for some reason that whatever that person had that day, it just jumped on her. I'm getting to the secret principle. I haven't told you what that is yet. And because I'm using the story to help. And so here it is. She had been doing it over and over and over and over and over and over. She's doing this stuff. And then that one day, it all broke through. Everything changed. Everything changed. Literally everything changed. And there it was. She was now playing like on a new level. Okay. What was it that did it? I'm going to tell you what did it. Here's the secret principle, because I've used it too. It's the principle of being consistent. See, courage is just something that we have to experience so that we know that it's time to do something, because that's what courage is, the ability to do something. That means we have to do something over and over and over until we feel like, oh, this is child's play. Oh, this is nothing. I'm going to tell you, when I used to take off, I did the podcast 3 days a week. It was weird because it felt like I had to really work hard to do one of these podcasts, 3 days a week. It was harder back then. It felt like I mean, even though I came up with stuff, but some days it was hard to come up with it. I didn't come on at the same time. I came on just kind of haphazardly as I kind of got something. But it was when I stopped. Well, I didn't stop. The Holy Spirit told me, go and do it every single day. Just like the person I was just talking about was my niece, Gwendolyn. She learned how to play a piano because she became so consistent at knowing that she could play the piano. She knew it. She didn't believe it anymore. She just knew she could do it. And she did not partner with anything that told her she couldn't do it. She just knew that she could do it. But it was through a consistent effort. If she had not been consistent, I guarantee you, like today, play anything, sing, all kind of stuff, like she wouldn't be, if she didn't stay consistent, it wouldn't have happened. What's the moral of the story today? The secret principle of having courage is simple. The thing that you need courage on, you actually have to do something. And you have to do something so consistently that you get to the point where you don't need courage to do it anymore. And then you have to choose something else. Like I'm sitting like, well, I got to choose something else to be consistent on. Like I've done this, I've conquered this. I got to find something else, be consistent on that, and get so consistent that it becomes so easy. It becomes so easy that it's just like, oh, wow, I could probably teach a class. I could probably teach class on doing something like this because I've done it so many times. I'm at 758 podcasts, but if I add on the other videos that I used to do and audios that I used to do, I'm probably somewhere around 2,000. I'm probably somewhere around 2,000 times that I recorded myself, either audio or video. 2,000. So when you think about that, it's like, wow, that's a lot of times. I haven't reached 10,000. I mean, that's a lot of episodes. But at any rate, so what's the secret principle? Look, go find something that you need courage on, and then find the thing that you have to do, and then do it over a long period of time. Yep. If you do it over a long period of time, you will crush, you will obliterate, you will no longer need courage because you would be courage. That means that you would be courage. And then when you find somebody else who's dealing with the same thing, you're going to say, oh, look, this is all you have to do in order to get through that thing. So that's the secret principle. It's not really much of a secret, and there's no reason not to have courage. It just means stand up, stand tall, get your butt out of the seat. Yep, get your butt out of the seat, or sit down and turn the camera on, whatever it is. And I guarantee that if you do it, you'll have courage. Got to be consistent. That's how you do it. Guys, I appreciate you for joining me for this episode of the Account for Your Life podcast. I'm Jay Moore. I'm the Healthy Accountant. My job in my life is to help you to account for your life. God bless, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Thanks for joining us, listening friends. We are so glad you invested this time with us. Always remember, you only have one life to live, so live it to the fullest. This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.